muted as well. Okay.
So, thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, welcome. It works. Wonderful.
We finally figured it out. So thank you for waiting. I think we are ready to start now. You want to say anything more, Thomas, or should I start
I
with
think
today's
I just said enough today. So, but Fabian, you have to allow me to record the session. Can you just look at your screen
Yes,
to see
sure.
that? Because you're the
So,
host, you have to allow me how to record it, and maybe we can put this
yes,
later
I
on.
think you're allowed to do so now.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Super. Okay, great.
So maybe should I also record these? I think yes.
It's recorded on my computer, and then it's recorded also on your computer. If you like, you can do that.
All right. Super. Perfect. So welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining our today's webinar. I have to check if my camera is working also, so that
Yes, now
I
it's
think now you can see me. Perfect. So hello to everyone. It's wonderful that so many people have signed up for this webinar. I think that shows that you are as excited about the new C-score protocol than as we are. And so, yes, that's wonderful. Also, hello to everyone who is rewatching this webinar on YouTube. Would be nice if you click the subscribe button. We will appreciate it. So, a few words about myself, maybe. So, I'm working for Thomas quite a while now, for a few years. I'm doing technical development of new products, as you can see with today's topic. But I'm also doing technical support for our customers. So if you have a problem, you can just call me and I will help you. I'm doing also many mentoring hours. Really enjoy that. So I can talk face to face, also via team viewer. So if you are interested in learning new things in the neurofeedback world, or if you are experiencing some difficulties with your training, if you have any questions regarding QEEGs, etc., you can also just contact me also with WhatsApp, and together with IFEN, we can organize a mentoring session, and I will try to help you as best as I can. So, IFEN Pro Z. Today, I'm glad that I can finally present you our next generation C-score training. There went a lot of work into it, over 2 years of work of collecting ideas, and yeah, now we are here and we can finally present our results. So at the beginning of this process, we ask ourselves, how can we make the current C-score training, or since today we can call it the old C-score training, how we can make it better? And one question popped up in our mind, and the question was, what makes neurofeedback training effective? So I'd just like to ask Thomas, can we see my presentation? Is it working? Because I'm just seeing my camera. I'm not sure. maybe someone can write if they say, ah, okay, it works perfectly. So great. Well, what makes neurofeedback training effective? Well, when you think about it, there are a lot of factors that will improve your training experience. For example, you need a good connection to the people you are training. You have to understand their symptoms, how you can help them. And of course, you might even have a training plan where you say you want to train certain locations in certain frequencies, or for our discovery users, they can even choose little parts in the brain that should be targeted, like Broadman areas. And of course, this can add up to an effective training. But when you think about it, it's basically every training comes down to the way we give feedback. So no matter how good we target certain areas in the brain, all we can communicate is via feedback. So in our case, we have here a binary feedback, as I call it, which turns out to be the limiting factor. Well, what do I mean by binary feedback? So we can only give feedback or no feedback at all. We have only these two possibilities. We cannot say to the brain, well, in this area do this, and in this area, well, enhance alpha, and in the other one, the opposite. We cannot really communicate this information. All we have is the decision whether to give feedback or not. This is how it works. So, of course, we must choose wisely what activity should be rewarded. So when we see small changes in the EEG that we like to see, that we want to see more of, then we will give feedback. And of course, how wisely we choose this feedback depends then also how effective the training is. So to give you a little insight in the topic, I would quickly explain how it's currently working with Z-scores. So in our feedback decision, we use Z-scores as suggestions what might be wrong in form of a ranking. So in form of a ranking means it gives us basically a list. And the biggest number is also the most unusual activity. So we have then a list from very unusual activity to very common activity. And then we can look at it and decide what we should focus on. So it's differently for every individual because it's based on their EEG activity. I'm just pointing this out because some people are thinking, oh, Z-score training has disadvantages or is bad because people who are using Z-score training, they claim, just want to train them all equally, like they have a distinct thinking of how the brain should work, should work like the data sample, and we want to train each person the same. But it's actually the opposite. I couldn't disagree more with this argument. So it's differently for every individual, and it's just a suggestion for each of them what could or might be wrong. So I'm told you that it makes use of a normative database, and I've prepared a little example so that you can understand better how a normative database works. So I prepared a little graph that we can look at. So here is a normal distribution. And you can think of it as if you had a group of 100 people and you would record one metric for each person in this group. So let's say you want to record blood pressure values. Then you would get 100 blood pressure values, and you can calculate the average number. And this is marked here in the z-score field as 0. So 0 is just the average number of all in the data set. So if we take one blood pressure example, we can look, oh, is it higher, below, or where it's exactly located in this range. So for example, when it's higher, I mark it somewhere on the right side. When it's lower than average, I will draw this point on the left side. So each black point here represents one person in our data set. It represents their blood pressure. Well, but the thing is, here are only some points drawn from our whole group of 100 people. If we would draw for everyone a point here and start from the bottom line and just draw the next point one step higher, and then we would measure the height of this whole stack of people. So we are grouping them and see how many people are around 0, how many people are around +1 standard deviations, etc. Well, then we would get this dispersion curve. This is why it calls the normal distribution. This distribution curve represents the probability where the values might end up being. So in other words, to keep it simple, if someone asks you, hey, let's make a guessing game, you should say where the data set I have collected, where the numbers lie, and you should guess one number. Then you should guess 0, because 0 is the most likeliest to appear. And this is very, very important. So statistically, the outliers here are very unusual. So maybe only one of our 100 people have a score of +4 standard deviations in blood pressure. So it's a good metric to use as a suggestion where to focus at. And we want to focus at the outliers. So how we can now train them? So when we say, okay, this is very unusual activity and it might have something to do with the symptoms of our customer, then it might be a good idea to just concentrate on these outliers and not to train every value. Well, this is how the old Z-score training works. So how you decided which parts should be outliers? Well, you just define the space here between them. So you basically say, I would like to have 90%, for example, of all values in this window, let's call it. And this is our so-called window that many of you are familiar in the Brain Avatar software. So this is actually the upper and the lower threshold. It's just saying, oh, I'm defining which part of my data should be the outlier and which should be the normal activity, if you like. But the question is, how can I reliably decide the correct number of the upper and lower thresholds? And I think that's a big problem for many people, because when you have a discovery device with 19 channels, it can be very overwhelming to see all these Z-scores in my training screen. I have an example for you. This is just from Brain Avatar, a screenshot showing in simulation mode asymmetry values. And because in asymmetry, coherence and phase, as you know, one electrode position gets compared to many others, you will have a lot of data. And it's honestly also for me very, very difficult to suggest really a good point for the upper and lower thresholds to train. So we thought we need to rethink this problem. So what we actually want is we want to decide how many of these Z-scores should be inside the window. And so we can say like 90% should be inside. And what Pro Z does, it enables you to just set the length of this arrow here down. So you just saying 90% should be included, and you will get the exact number for upper and lower thresholds automatically. Isn't that great? So now when we have set these thresholds accordingly, the outliers can move into our window, and then the so-called score will increase, because then there are more values inside the window. And every time this happens, we will get positive feedback. So then the program will say, okay, we will reward this. But because they are set correctly, there is also another advantage. There might be happening something like this. Oh, we got an artifact. So maybe our customer moved his head and we got neck muscle artifacts, or it's just an eye blink. But as you can see, because the window has the correct size, this artifact cannot move into the window. It's too far away. And this is why the whole idea with the window makes so much sense, because you're saying, oh, here is the beginning of the outliers, but if you are too far away, then this might be incorrect data. So with Pro Z, with our new protocol, it's just like there is no artifact. It doesn't change anything from a feedback standpoint. Well, but there is another problem with the old Z-score training. Here in this oversimplified example, I've only talked about blood pressure values. Well, in neurofeedback, we have not one metric, but many. So you will be most likely familiar with things like absolute power, asymmetry, coherence, and phase values. And of course, if you would average the recording of 100 people in their EEG, the number 0 in Z-scores would also be the most common one. So most people on average will then have a score of 0. But there is a very important difference here. Here we are looking at data from one individual. And you can see that for some people, they may have got, well, this absolute power, so most of the values are in the middle, some higher, like +3, -3 standard deviations. But then maybe on asymmetry, the values are mostly negative. So there are only a few outliers in the positive spectrum. Same goes with coherence, other way around. So here the values are more positive, and they are distributed a bit wider than compared to the phase, where they are more closer together, the different Z-scores. So the question is how we can define a correct upper and lower thresholds to train our outliers. Well, turns out it's not so easy. When we set it like this, you see, okay, for the absolute power, it might work quite fine, but for example, on asymmetry, it doesn't really work because there are no positive Z-scores outside of the window. So if they can't move into the window because there are no values, we can simply not train them. So in this case, you would not train the positive asymmetry values. And the same goes with the phase. There is the lower threshold for the phase is so low that we cannot train correct phase values on the lower end. Also on asymmetry, we have another problem. Here there are enough outliers in negative spectrum, but there are too many. So we actually don't training outliers here, negative outliers, but we are training somewhere in the middle. Could also be helpful for the client, but in most cases, this is not what I want. I want to use the suggestions based on Z-scores what is the most unusual activity, and that should be trained, and not some random values in the middle. So it doesn't really make sense. And no matter how hard you think, you will not get a correct upper and lower threshold in this example. You can move it around and it will for one metric work and for the other not. Well, so what's the solution for this problem? With IFEN Pro Z training, we're simply using one threshold for each metric. It's as simple as that. You just say, I want 90%, for example, inside this window. 90% of all Z-score values should be inside the window, and the program will decide on its own how these upper and lower threshold should be set to meet this requirement. And it's very easy. It's also working, of course, for sLoreta. So it's just one more metric that it takes into account. So these are two big improvements we could achieve with IFEN Pro Z, but there are many more. So IFEN Pro Z will enable you to use fully automatic threshold targeting. No more upper and lower thresholds must be set. Then it uses single metric thresholds, which drastically improves training results. Of course, if you are targeting each metric correctly, you will get also better training results. And it makes the whole training more effective. And this is what we want to achieve. But there are also some other improvements. For example, you can now easily control how much feedback you will get. So for example, if you are familiar with the auto threshold with the old Z-score training from Brainmaster, you will know that the percent reward is approximately 50% all the time. So with our implementation, you can say just how much reward, how much feedback you want to get. So for example, if you want to watch a movie and you need more feedback for that, you can say, oh, all right, I want 70% feedback. Or if you want to play some of Thomas' new Flash games, or the new pinball game, which is really great, and you want it to be challenging, maybe you want a bit less than 50% feedback, depending on your needs. You can choose freely. We've also implemented new tone feedback, so new tones that are pleasant to hear, but also I think they are giving you a good impression on exactly the time where the feedback should get to our customers. So I am looking forward to show you this later in our demo. And we have a much improved sLoreta training, which is also very great. You can now combine surface metrics with sLoreta 1 really easy. So you can train them both, and it's also together in one event in Avatar, if you are familiar with the event wizard. So it works perfectly also with the Sucor software, or with another additional feedback you can also use it for all Flash games and etc. Yes, and many more features. So just a side note, it's available for every Atlantis and Discovery user out there who uses Brain Avatar today. So these are the things you need to have in order to use our new training protocol. Yes, so now I will guide you quickly through the installation process so that you can see how you can easily install our new development on your own. It's really easy. It only takes 5 minutes and you're ready to go. Then we have some demo time. I can show you both versions for Atlantis users and Discovery users. And after that, we will do a final Q&A where you can ask all your questions. Are there any questions popping up now? I have to look at the chat. So, my clients are very pleased of the new audio feedback. The music is like classics direct from the brain. Oh, that is nice. I'm hoping that Hanne, hello Hanne, that she means our new music feedback. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you like it. So then I will just start showing you the files you will get from us when you if you order our new Pro Z training. And after that, Thomas will show you the new IFEN launcher, which is also very great. We will do very good work with it, I think, in the future. It enables us to deploy more software more easily to our customers. And yes, then we will do our demo. So I'm switching now my screen. So all right. So I think I've changed the screen now. So files you get from us when ordering. Well, what do you need? It's pretty easy. You just need a new passkey for your existing Atlantis and Discovery device. It will unlock all of the other stuff that you have already purchased in the Avatar ecosystem. And it will also unlock our new Pro Z training. So it needs a passkey for that. Then you will also need the new Avatar version, and we will just give you a download link for all of these. So you will get a link from us where you can get your passkey and the Avatar setup. And last but not least, we have here our IFEN launcher. So how I can install the new avatar software. It's quite easy. You just have to go to your computer and you have to click the Start button. So if you have Windows 10, like me on this machine, you see here this settings icon. On Windows 7, there is just the system control that you can use, and you just have to click this. My installation is in dark mode, so it might just be white on your PC, but it's the same menu. So here you see Windows settings, says in German, and you just have to click on apps here. It's right in the middle here, apps. Here you can click on it. And here on apps and features, you just have to scroll down, and here you can find your avatar version. It says Brainmaster Brain Avatar. Well, there might also be some additional software from Brainmaster here, but you are searching for the one that says Brain Avatar. And in order to run the new Pro Z training, you need version 4.7.5 or above. So 4.7.5 is sufficient. But you can, of course, just install the latest version that we will provide. You just have to click deinstall here, and then you have to confirm your deinstallation. It's really easy. Just hit a few times OK. You have nothing to select here. It's really quick and easy process, and you don't have to worry. All your data will be preserved. So it's really just the program itself, but none of your settings, files, studies, etc. what you got on your PC. So you can easily install it and install the latest version, and you're ready to go. Every other protocol will work or should work. So it's all compatible to each other. It's absolutely no problem. And then after that, you can just double click on the file we have provided for you. Then it says prepared for installation. And you will have this little menu, and you can just click next here and next, and then you have to just accept the license agreement from Brainmaster, and that's it. It's really easy. And if you forgot any part of this process, we will also provide you with a video which is explaining shortly how you can install the new version. And you can also call us or write us, and if you get stuck in the middle of this process, and we will help you out. So I'm just canceling this because I already got the newest version. And I think now Thomas could show us the IFEN launcher if he is ready. Thomas, are you here? I think he needs audio from me. Well, that's for sure. Have to audio on. So now it should work. Sorry.
Yes,
hello,
thank
Thomas.
you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and yes, I can show the IFEN launcher now. Thank you for the wonderful presentation of the protocol, and looking forward for your live demo as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we did in the last half year, or almost the last year, we developed a launcher for you that makes your life and work a little bit easier, because we have now a tool that when you install this, it will automatically install the protocols, the IFEN protocols, into the settings folder of your Brain Avatar system. So you can then launch the IFEN Pro Z protocol from your settings folder directly, just choosing whether it's Atlantis or Discovery protocol, and if it's QEG Pro, or if it's any, or if it's BrainDX. So these protocols we all prepared, so you just choose them. Now with our launcher, now you have several programs. You can directly start them from this launcher. So to give you some nice feedback for which also is very nicely working together with our protocols, but they work with all protocols. So let me show you the first program in our launcher is Capital, which is development from us, which was actually designed for testing, for cognitive testing, impulse control, reaction time. So if you want to see a progress in your client with cognitive performance, you can use Capital, which measures each session, the reaction time and impulse control. And you can measure over time, and you can see nice little curves when people improve. The next point here on our dimmer is on our launcher is the so-called
Thomas, sorry to interrupt you. I think we are not seeing your screen. If you, I think you have to manually
okay.
change it.
Okay, I will present my screen. But
yes.
You have to give me
okay.
Allow me to present the screen,
so
right?
I'm just changed you as host for now. I'm not sure how I can.
You can actually give me just screen sharing.
Well, now are you the host? I think it will work.
Thank you. Oh, fine. Okay. So this is our launcher. This is the view of our launcher. This is what will come up when you install it. It's an easy tool. We'll send you all the download links. You can directly use it on your own computer. It will give you a 15-day free of Capital, which is the software for cognitive testing, which I already told you. It will also give you Make Room. This is a nice feedback game which turns stones into stars. This is free. It will automatically be installed on your computer in the Flash game folder, which you all have in your Brain Avatar folder already, but it will be there, and you just and you can run it directly from the launcher. So you just stay in the launcher, and you don't have to go on another place on your computer. It will also install a Brain Pinball. It will not give you a free version because this takes us a lot of time and work to create such a game. I'm sure you will all love it. I just give you a small example of it so that you see how that looks like. I can run the game. I just have to go online with that game. Now, if I click here, it will be offline again. So if I run it, it will give you really the first pinball game for neurofeedback that has ever been designed. It was always kind of my wish to have that on as a neurofeedback application, and it works really like a pinball. And see here, you have.
I think it's in the background, Thomas.
Sorry.
I think it's in the background. The window opened in the background.
Because it's not.
I think that the presentation mixed it up.
Right. Yes. Let me bring it up. Now it's here. Yeah.
Ah, super.
See it. And it's a really unique game. It's a real brain game actually, because what you see, it's now working with the IFEN Pro Z protocol, and whenever you meet criteria, you get an event. So it will count points. It will move the flipper up when you meet criteria, and if you don't meet criteria, nothing will happen. So, and see, if you meet criteria, you get the points, and if you not meet criteria, the ball will even go through and you will lose it. But when you make it not too hard, you always get some nice reward. It's and you have the bumpers, and they will really count the points. If the ball touches the bumper, if it touches the bumper and you don't meet criteria, there are no points. All right, and if you increase the difficulty, you get less points. If you make it easier, you get more points, and you can have a pointer counter. Oh, you see, now I lost the ball because I didn't meet criteria. All right, so
one question of our viewers.
Yes.
Lyra is asking if this game is only available for Brain Avatar. Right now, yes.
Only for Brain Avatar. Only for Brain Avatar. Yes. No other platform at the moment. Yeah. So it's good you have a Brain Avatar software because it gives you lots of options here. Good.
Very cool.
Yeah,
So
I like it.
I really like also the Make Room game that everyone can try out. I think if you like Make Room, you will love Brain Pinball. They are both equally great.
Look, for Make Room, you have to make it a little bit harder, but here is the Make Room screen, and let me just start it from the launcher. All right. Yeah, there are menus. Oh, it's here. All right. And we can make it, let's play the hard one. So you get only points when the ball is big and then gets through the stones. It's very rewarding. It's not frustrating. You get in a short time, you get a lot of points. And at the end of the game, it's a little bit more difficult because you need to get all the balls, all the stones and rocks, and yeah, and there is a easy and there is a random mode.
And when you adjust the feedback accordingly with our Pro Z protocol, then it's also really challenging. Can be really hard when you turn the percent reward down and wait for a few seconds or a half a minute. Then it's really
That's right. That's right. Yes. We have to wait a little bit until the percentage of reward is coming in, but now it's already a little bit harder. You see, ball stops and goes with the meeting criteria. You see, now you don't get it. You have to get it again. Yeah, that's how
really cool.
Yeah. It's easy and funny.
You're really waiting until the feedback comes in. That is really great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You want to make it move.
And it changes the background by itself, so you don't have to do nothing. It just changes when you wait to get to the next level. Yeah, and now we are in the next level, and new, and you can go to the menu and try another level, so you get nice sound feedback if you like, and you can mute it also if you like. You can use music. that stuff. All right. So that was my part, and Adelantra, of course, gives you some more infos about our IFEN channel on YouTube. You can go to our IFEN website if you look for webinars and education. This is where you can buy some supplies for Neurofeedback at the Neurofeedback Partner Shop, which is a partner from us. And here's the Capito website, for example, if you want to have more information about Capito, the cognitive testing and training software, which also now will become a presenting software for event-related potentials and evoked potentials. All right, so far from my side.
That's great. So I think we will just send out the download link for the launcher for everyone, and so everyone can try it out on their own. Really cool.
Thanks, Fabian. Fabian, do you want to continue with
yes,
with explanation of the protocol?
I'd like to.
I just brought it up. Maybe you can make it on my screen.
Maybe it's better when you give me the host privileges back.
Sure.
So
let me do that now.
Then I can just quickly show what I've prepared.
Absolutely.
I think you need to click Teilnehmer, and then you have to search me again.
Yes. Here we are.
Ah, well, that's great. Super. So then I will present my screen here perfectly. So now you should see my screen again. Is this correct? I think so. Super, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Lina. All right, so now let's move on to the demo part. So, as we've mentioned before, our Pro Z protocol is available for both Atlantis and Discovery users, and also for every database, as Thomas mentioned. So here I will show you firstly our Atlantis version, so 4-channel surface. And then we have also a discovery version with sLoreta included, prepared. And yes, I can show them to you both. So here we use QEG Pro, but there are files for every other database. And you see here behind is an A, which stands for Atlantis. So you can easily see which version you got. So I will just run it as a temporary session for now. And well, here we are in Brain Avatar. So right now it's on simulation mode because I don't have actual electrodes connected. And I think we are ready to go. We can just hit go on the above menu, here the blue go button, as you used to, and we get just the confirm message that this is a simulation. Actually, yes, so the simulation is running. And we have F3, F4, P3, P4 selected for now. If you want to train other electrode locations, you just have to change it with the setup button as you are used to. So here we got the raw EG screen, but let's jump to the next screen, which is the Z-score screen. And this is just like the normal Z-score screen you're used to, nothing special. let's move one step further. And now, oh, that's interesting. So this is our new training UI. So it's split in half. You can see on the right side your raw EEG, which is very helpful to just see if there is anything wrong with the connection, if there are artifacts in it. I think it's very useful that you see your raw EEG on the same screen where you see your training values. So our Atlantis user, most of them are familiar with that, but it's also now possible for our Discovery users. So what do we see here? We have our 4 metrics that are available: absolute power, asymmetry, coherence, and phase. And for now, we are training all of them. But we can also decide if we want to just use a single one or 2 or 3 in any combination. And the interesting part here, it searched at the beginning for the corresponding absolute, asymmetry, coherence, and phase values for upper and lower thresholds. So as we've shown you in my little presentation before. So here on the left above, you see there is a slider for upper target and for lower target. And these go from 70 to 95%. So with these sliders, you can decide how wide your window should be. And you see, if we want to have 90% of the positive and of negative values inside our window, we need completely different upper and lower thresholds. So we have here like 4.7 for coherence plus 4.7, but we need 7.7 upper target with our phase metric. So this is just like in the example before, that you can see that these metrics are not distributed equally. And if you would just use one upper and lower target for all of them, as you are used to with the old C-score protocols, then it just wouldn't work really effectively. You would not train the outliers of phase because they are too far, much too far away from our window. And we might also not train the coherence upper values because at 4.8 they are relatively low compared to the other values. Of course, these values are pretty high, but this is just because of the simulation. So when you use actual EEG data, they will be around the same where they used to be, but for every single metric differently. And you can also see we got here a number percent reward. And this is an indication of how much feedback you will get. So now we will have 55% reward. So it will get a bit lower over time because our target is 50%. This is the third slider we have here available saying reward. And if you want, like with Thomas Make Room games, if you want it to be more difficult, then you just need to put it down, like maybe 20%. And you see that these numbers are not changing very fast. But this is how it meant to be, because we don't want the customer to notice if we change the reward. Well, because if it changes the thresholds immediately, then you will get basically false feedback, because then you will get much more or much less feedback, but your current state of the brain hasn't really changed or improved. So this is why it takes some time, but if you wait like 3-4 minutes, you will get to this point. So now we see it's just at around 45, and it's decreasing, so it just works. Yes, and if you want to change these numbers, so when you put the two sliders down, you see that also your window will be smaller. So when you move these two down, also the upper and lower thresholds will move down. So now we're training more in the middle. And the idea is that you, as I've said before, I think in my presentation, that you start like around 90%, maybe a bit higher. You can even start 95%. This is where you train the absolute most outliers. And then, but 90% is, in my opinion, a good value to start. And then, if the training isn't as effective as you like, or if the results aren't that great, if the customer saying there is not really a change of their symptoms, then you can say, oh, okay, maybe these suggestions from Z-scores are not really matching in this case, so maybe the most unusual activity isn't the problem here, but you have tried, and then you can make it a bit smaller, like you can say 80%, and then you are training more values in the middle that are a bit more common, but also unusual activity compared to values below 70%. So you can go from the most unusual numbers to the more common numbers, and you can try out what works best for your client. But you can also leave it just at 90% and train everyone at 90% window size. So yes, this is the Atlantis version. I can show you the sLoreta one as well. I will just quickly start it, and then it can search for the upper and lower threshold values. So we're seeing now that it goes up and it searches which numbers fit. And in the meanwhile, I can have a look at the chat, maybe. Yes, from Honey, she's asking if on the discovery, if there are both surface and sLoreta available. Yes. And she's also asking if you can use only a certain amount of electrodes for the surface one. if I understand correctly, and if I can use all electrodes for the Brodmann areas. So the thing is, when you click on setup button, thank you for the interesting question, by the way. I appreciate it. You see, it's possible with Avatar, when you click here on settings. I think my mouse is on the other side of the screen. When you go to your settings and acquisition here, you can only select like your 19 channels with Discovery. And if you uncheck the electrodes here, then sLoreta will work, but not as expected, because it's just not taking into account all 19 electrodes, but it just uses the data from the other ones and tries to reconstruct what it's missing. So in theory, yes, you could say I don't want to train maybe 01 or 02, but I want to use sLoreta as well. This will work, but it's maybe not a good idea to uncheck more of these electrodes, as the signal for sLoreta just gets worse. But I think it's not possible right now for the Brain Avatar software to only use some locations here and then to use all of them with sLoreta. But I'm afraid this is has not something to do with our protocol. It's just that Brain Avatar is not capable of it right now. But if someone has another solution, I'm happy to hear that. But I would just give you the advice to just focus on specific frequencies on the surface metric. And then if, for example, you select alpha as training, and you the client would have 2 less absolute power in the back of his head in the alpha frequencies, but he has normal activities in the front. And when you select all electrodes, only these in the back will be trained, actually. So it doesn't matter that you select all of your electrodes, because how Z-score training works, it will select only the most unusual activities. So only high Z-scores will be trained. There will be no lower or average Z-scores like in the middle. They won't be trained, only outliers. Yes, so here you see that our training is now running correctly. We have also a % reward of 50, which is fine. It's just like this reward, what we have chosen. But you see now there is one more row in our UI screen. So now we have also the sLoreta down there. And we see the distribution is even more extreme. So in sLoreta here, the simulation tends to have really like -1 lower threshold. So it wouldn't be possible to train sLoreta also with one single upper and lower values for all of them. So it's really most of the sLoreta values here in absolute power are on the positive side. So here is also a new slider. How does it work? It's very easy. You can just, if you want to only have sLoreta, you can move it up. So it says sLoreta ratio, means ratio compared sLoreta training to surface. So if you want to have only sLoreta training, you can put it at 100, but you can also, which makes more sense, say, oh, I just want 70% sLoreta training, and then you can just move it down, and now it's sLoreta dominated training, but it's also taking into account the surface metrics. And when you move it down like 20%, that means 20% of my feedback is used for sLoreta, but the huge rest of my feedback is focusing on the surface metrics. So it's all really easy, and you can adjust it fluently while training. And I can also show you, if you hit setup and Z-scores, you can just easily decide here what should be trained. So for example, if you want only train sLoreta and coherence, you can just uncheck the other trained values. And when you hit use these settings, on the go, the training will change, and you see only sLoreta and coherence is now active. So for now, when we're turning it back to 50%, we would do half sLoreta, half surface coherence training. It's easy as that. Isn't that great? And here on the graph, maybe as a final note, you can see how the so-called score of every metric is changing. So when it goes up, it will get better, so it then will lead to feedback. If it goes down, then more values are moving out of the window, and there will be no feedback. Yes, so last but not least, I can quickly show you the event wizard. So just for the people who are interested, you can use any feedback that you want with our protocol. So the event 1 is for SUCOR feedback, just because the SUCOR software takes into account the SOCO score. So this will return values from 0 to 100 if you are interested. If not, you can just use the SUCOR software and just hit in the modality editor set score neurofeedback. So this standard preset in every SUCOR software will work perfectly with our Pro Z protocols. So you don't have to change anything, just use the SUCOR software as you're used to. So, and then event 2, 3, and 4 are for our sound feedback that I can now show you. And the event 5 is for all other feedback, like flash games. It's enabled for the multimedia player in Brainmaster, and it's also working with all of Thomas software and games, and it's also enabled by default, so you don't have to do anything. So long talking short, you can use whatever feedback method you like, whatever feedback game you like, and it will just work. You don't have to change anything here. So then I will activate the sound feedback. You can just click on sound and use event wizard sounds. I'm not sure how good it works. If I have, maybe I have to switch from microphone. So so is the sound now working again? I think so. We have a little difficulty with our microphones for today. But yes, this was the music feedback. You can use also some tones from your own, from other protocol, will just work fine. Just select it in the event wizard. So I think this is the end of our presentation. Of course, when you, in this example, want to decide to use other metrics as well in the training, you can just check them again. It will all work while training, which is really cool. Maybe we have some more questions. Now is time, little Q&A. I think we are way over the time. I have to accuse myself for that, but I hope it was interesting for you. So I'm just looking at the chat menu. How do we adjust the percent reward of the targets? So if you want to adjust the percent reward, you have this slider here, the green one. If you want to have more percent reward, you quickly slide it up and wait for a few seconds or 1 minute. And if you want to have less, you just drag it down. So, Thomas wants to say something. So yes, then I will make him the presenter again. And yes, thank you very much from my side for your now stage back to Thomas.
All right. Yes, Fabian, this was very interesting. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say something. That doesn't mean you have to give the mic, just the host over to me. So, but I was very, very excited by this new features we got when I first time saw the first the first prototype of that protocol. It has developed so much, and with our features that now, and Fabian, you did a really great job by adding the slider for making the portion of Loreta training free adjustable. Like, I want to make more Loreta, so I just move the slider up. I want to make less Loreta. I want to make more surface feedback, Z-score feedback. I just move the slider down. I want to just have 50-50. So that is all possible. That has never been there before, and it's then so easy to apply sLoreta. Of course, you have to know which region you want to train. You have to know the anatomy, the neuroanatomy, the functions of that Loreta regions. But there is knowledge you acquire from these from the workshops, and we know that, for example, Brodmann area 25 is very much associated with depression. We know Brodmann area 13 has a lot to do with addiction and with chronic pain, and attention has to do a lot with the so-called default mode network. Now you can train those networks and you can include them. It's fantastic, and it's just a tool now that is kind of, it really gives you so much of opportunities, but it also takes the burden away from you to kind of find these thresholds and then adjust them all the time. If the client gets better, and you have to increase or decrease the threshold. Nothing you have to do now. The program is working for you and not you for the program, and that's the big difference here. What I also wanted to add is that, of course, you can, in the Z-score protocol, in the Z-score tab, you can, of course, choose not only the 19 channels. You can also decide, I just want to train F3, F4, and P3, P4 in the surface, but still you need to have all the channels in the Loreta. But this is not touched if you just choose 4 channels in the surface. That doesn't touch Loreta, because important is what's in the acquisition. And it probably Fabian understood that right, but I think the question also may have pointed out, can I select several Z-score positions on the scalp, and do I have to always choose 19 positions? No, it's possible to also use 4, but not in the acquisition. Please don't touch the acquisition. You have to have 19 points, or you should have 19 points to get optimal results when you train Z-score Loreta. Yeah, it's such a great honor for us to have you all joined our webinar. And we know that you spend time to learn more, and you want to improve your results. You want to improve your abilities in neurofeedback. We hope that we have done. We know that we've done something for you there, and we can just invite you to try it out, to use that protocol, and talk to others, and exchange information. This is just the beginning. Such a protocol is like an organism. It grows, it develops, and of course we will add more features to it. We will give you more information as soon as we have it. One of the next developments with Brain Avatar is they want to add connectivity in sLoreta, and we have a place for that. We will also have it as soon as they have it. And there is the question of cost. You will see it's different. Atlantis, it's a different cost than Discovery. It will be worth the price, I can tell you. And whenever you have the license, it always will be with you. There is no license fee for using it. You can use it your lifetime, and when there is an update or an upgrade, we'll take care for it. We'll also give you the updates for free, of course. So thank you very much, everybody. And whatever you whenever you have questions, let us know. You will receive the launcher. There is one game for free for Brain Avatar users, and we stay in touch. We stay in connection with each other, and thank you very much again. Take care of you. Take care of you and your brain and your clients, and all the best. All right. You want to add something, Fabian? Good. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye. We'll leave it a little bit online. If there are some questions, we'll still give you answers. Yes, I can unmute you, Fabian, of course. Let me give you the, can you say something now, Fabian? Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Thomas. Super.
Good.
So, yes, thank all of you for joining. Just wanted to answer one more question. So someone asked, I will quickly give my screen, share my screen. I think now you can see me. So one question was regarding here the event wizard. If you need to change some of the event rules, like if this should be greater or less than, no, you don't have to change these values. So it's all set. That doesn't needs some changes from you. So just leave it as it is. It will work fine. And thank you also, Thomas, for the explanation of the one question. I think I got it wrong. Yes, the question was just if it's possible to use only a few Z-scores and don't change the acquisition. So if you have all 19 channels connected, but you on surface you just want to use a few of them, of course you can do that. You just need to click on the Z-score tab here, and you can remove and then add whatever number you like. So this is of course possible. Thank you, Thomas, for the clearance.
You're welcome.
Well, if you
but that's the beauty on that software. They gives you so many options.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And they gave us the option to make this protocol reality, because it wasn't possible in the old version because there were only 16 algorithms. Now we have 32, and there was the paradise for Fabian. Like he had 32 events to write equations in. They were wonderful. It's such a
yes. This is why we are needing the new Brain Avatar software, because we just ran out of events, so it was not possible to produce something like this with only 16 events. So it's quite complicated in the background, but I think it's really easy to understand and to use as a neurofeedback provider.
Oh yeah, we do one webinar only for event wizards. Then people, but thank God for it's good we don't have to look at the event wizard for that. All right, thank you everybody. See you. Goodbye.
Thank you again. Have a nice day, nice evening.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.